John, enjoying your videos. How do you fund your lifestyle and sustainable for long term? Oof. Yeah, that is so first of all, I made good money in the United States as an IT professional. I really did. I was making over 100,000 with benefits, whatever, probably 130. And I had bought a cheap home. I think my home I bought early 2008 because the Obama first time buyer program. So anyways, I bought a home for like 120. I kept my mortgage was under 1,000 and I made over 100,000. So I kept my bills small and I saved. I was maxing out my 401k for probably 10 years easily. And then close to maxing it out for 20 years when I worked for that firm. So that's kind of the strategy. Now the 401k you can't touch, right? Until you're 59 and a half. But I had kind of did that strategy throughout my life. Like I doubled up on my mortgage. So I was paying, not quite doubled up, but I think I was paying around 1,500 or 1,600 a month on a 900 a month mortgage, right? So, and I had lived in that house when we got divorced in 2025. I'd lived in that house then, 2008, 2025, whatever the hell that year's, how many years that was, right? And then not quite doubling mortgage payments, but I had it a good percentage paid off, whatever, maybe 70%. I don't remember how much equity exactly in a Colorado housing market, which was booming, right? So I had kind of that basic saving strategy, that basic saving mindset through a lot of my professional years. And then in I can't remember what year, like I said, the years kind of get all muched together now. But anyways, right before the pandemic hit, what is that, 2020? My wife and I filed for divorce and decided, you know what, this ain't working. And that was January and the pandemic hit in March, right? So what I had done in January, we sold the house to pay off the divorce. I had a premarital agreement, but it didn't protect me from all my assets, but it did protect from me a bulk of them. But I did I knew there was going to be some money that I was going to have to shell out. So I sold the house to kind of fund the divorce. So I was sitting on a crap ton of cash. And it's sitting on cash, not a crap ton, but it's sitting on cash. And what happened when the pandemic hit, right? If you guys remember in March 2020, the freaking stock market went like that. It just freaking dove. And what I had done with this cash, knowing that it wasn't going to take me all of it from my house, is I had went like that into the market and saved enough to pay off my divorce, what I thought it was going to cost me. Well, that money doubled. And very quickly, right, within a year or two, things kind of rebounded. And so next thing I knew, I was sitting on enough money to get me to 59 and a half. And that was my strategy. Is when I started looking at it, I was like, you know what, I can do this. And it's scary, making six figures, living on a lot of that, right? Requiring that money to survive, and then saying, you know what, I can live on 24. That was rough. And so that's kind of what I did is I had a mindset early on to save and invest. I had a great opportunity with the pandemic in the markets. I freaking did well there, and then went ahead and just said, you know what, I'm done. And once I so I did a scouting trip. I came here in August of whatever hell year that was. So I did the scouting trip, and I got back in November, and it was late October after that trip. So I was over Labor Day weekend. So really, technically, I got back early September. Within 2 months, I decided to sell out and move. And then December, I was here, right, of that year. So August did my scouting trip. October said I'm out. December moved. But that's kind of when I looked at my finances and stuff like that, I could get to 59 and a half. And 59 and a half is where my bulk of my assets were. So that's kind of financially how that all played out. And then I wish AI was around then, where I could just really kind of strategize it even better. But whatever, it worked out. But yeah, so that's kind of how I got to where I'm at. And in that strategy and thinking of getting to 59 and a half, it was close. Like I wasn't forecasting any growth in my money. I was saying, all right. And that's kind of what YouTube was, right? I was like, all right, I got enough money to get me to 58, but I don't know about that last half year, that last year. It's a little sketchy. And I was budgeting whatever, 2,000 a month, right? So that's where YouTube, I was like, all right, I'll start my channel. I'll give it 4 or 5 years to grow, knowing I need to make money. Well, what had happened is those last 2 years that I was here, the markets were doing well. You know, I was making whatever. I think I was the two funds that I was in, I was up 30%. And having that 30% growth early on, like when that money was sitting there, that took me over the top, right? That took me over what I needed to get to 59 and a half. Now, I still need to be careful. I'm not loaded. I'm not rich by no means, but it did allow me to cut out early from the United States and to kind of do it here. And I'm just grateful that the markets cooperated, have done well. YouTube has not cooperated. I ain't making jack squat on YouTube, but it's fun. It's a hobby. It's fun for me, that kind of deal. But so that's kind of, John, that's the long story and the full story of it. You know, the amounts, you know, whatever, you know, it's, you know, I'd come here with a chunk of money, you know, a good chunk of money. And what's a financial rule, whatever the 3% or 4% rule, I think I would just follow by that with your spending and budgeting, to make sure that you can sustain that over time. So, yeah, so my goal is to get to, once I get to 59 and a half, then whatever, right? Between Social Security and even if I don't think Social Security is going anywhere, right? But even if it did, the 401k is more than enough to kind of get me around. So yeah, good for you, brother. Hope you make it out.